Does having backlogs mean that you can't make it to a top master's program? Well, maybe not. And I'm going to tell you how in the past we've had some students with a few backlogs still make it to some of the finest master's programs in their respective fields because they managed it smartly and compensated with certain factors. Right at the end of this video, I'm going to give you a wonderful tip which a lot of our students have used to conceal backlogs. So if you stay tuned to that, you'll really be happy. Firstly, let's understand what a backlog is. Well, if you've repeated an exam for whatever reason, whether you're sick, maybe you couldn't clear the minimum passing mark, then it counts as a backlog. However, it only counts as a backlog if it appears in an additional transcript. Try and understand this. If you're studying a traditional 4-year engineering degree or a 3-year degree in any other field, you will get 8 transcripts or 6 transcripts. If you've cleared all of your subjects in the first attempt, you will end up only with 8 overall, which the university will ask for. If you don't manage to clear a particular subject in a particular semester, and therefore you have to take a supplemental exam, the result of that comes in an additional transcript, meaning you don't have just 8 or 6, you will have 9 or 7. If you have that additional transcript or those additional transcripts, then what is traditionally expected of a 3-year or a 4-year undergrad student, that is the indication of a backlog to a university. If some of you are lucky enough that the backlog is not mentioned in an additional transcript and is included in the older normal semester transcript, then maybe your backlog may not even be detected. However, if that subject appears as a repetition in an additional transcript, or if there's an asterisk mark in the existing transcript, despite sickness or whatever reason, then it still counts as a backlog. Universities usually may not take the explanation very kindly as to why that backlog appeared. How do admissions committees perceive backlogs and what is the impact going to be on your admissions? Well, here is where I'm going to give you an it depends answer. Say if your overall GPA is good, perhaps above a 7.5 or even an 8. If you have a decent and decently above normal GPA, then having 1 or 2 backlogs will not affect your chances of getting in too much. In terms of the admissions committee's perspective, they'll assume that you are academically consistent as reflected by your GPA, and those 1 or 2 backlogs that you have may only be a small discrepancy or some sort of reason that can be justified, which they won't bother delving into. In fact, I recommend that if you genuinely have 1 or 2 backlogs with a good GPA, maybe don't even address them anywhere and draw attention to them. However, if your GPA is lower and you have 3 or 4 or 5 backlogs, that's when the problem starts to happen, and maybe some of the top universities will be a little out of reach for you, especially if you don't have strong research or full-time work experience to back it up. Of course, once the backlog count goes beyond 6, 7 and 8, it becomes very, very difficult to justify to an admissions committee that you will be academically capable of coping with the rigor of a top-notch program. Like always at Gradvine, we don't just like defining the problems, we try and give our students and viewers some sort of solutions. And now I'm going to discuss how you can compensate for having more than a few backlogs. Now, I've seen candidates in the past with 4 or 5 backlogs also get into the top 10 to 15 master's programs for various disciplines. The common factors among these students are as follows. Some of them had strong and significant amount of work experience. If you have 3 to 4 years of solid work experience in a particular field, then your academic performance from 4 or 5 years ago may be taken a little less seriously. If your achievements within your job role are strong and you have grown within the organization, then it is evidence of your technical aptitude in your role, especially if that role is relevant to the master's degree you wish to pursue. Therefore, getting some sort of work experience is important. Secondarily, if you don't want to go down that work experience route, then if you have very, very strong internships, technical projects and research papers that have been published, that also shows that you have the academic aptitude within your domain, which can sort of compensate for a lower GPA or maybe a few backlogs. You have to understand that a perceived lack of academic aptitude due to backlogs can only be compensated by demonstrating academic aptitude. The way you do that is through technical projects, internships, or work experience relevant to the master's program you want to apply to. The third way you can compensate for some backlogs or a lower GPA is strong recommendation letters. It is often a misconception that people want to write about their backlogs in their SOP. I would not recommend that because number one, that seems like an excuse, And secondarily, it's you writing about your own backlogs and stating that it's not a reflection of your academic skills. Instead, if you add this to your recommendation letters, it is actually going to be a professor or a project guide or a research guide who's going to tell the admissions committee that you are academically gifted and these backlogs are not an accurate reflection of your ability to perform in a master's degree. Now, having somebody who's a mentor or a senior person in the field saying that has a lot more credibility than you writing about it in the SOP. Now, the fourth factor is for candidates who may have had backlogs early on in their academic journey. Maybe you had 2 or 3 backlogs in your first and second semester, and the way you show that you compensated for that is an upward graph through improving grades and a strong GPA in subsequent semesters. Now, as a bonus tip, if you have backlogs with a slightly lower GPA, then don't target CGPA-centric universities. There are universities that evaluate applications a little bit more holistically and other universities which are far more GPA-centric. Now, how you identify those is by consulting with us, because we have all the expertise of guiding thousands of students with a variety of different profiles to the top universities. If you want to reach out to us for the same, you can schedule a free consultation call using the link in the description. I also have a second bonus tip which will be incredibly useful for all the guys who stayed tuned to this video till now. If you've already finished your education and you are getting a consolidated big transcript with all 8 semester grades in one, then there is a good chance that your university will not indicate the backlogs in that. Also, because it's consolidated, there won't be the hassle of having that additional transcript which reveals your backlog. If given a chance, try and upload the consolidated transcript because it can hide the 1 or 2 backlogs potentially. Now, I'm sure you found a lot of useful tips in this video. If you did, please like, share and subscribe to our channel. Your likes will push us up in YouTube's algorithm, ensuring that all students have access to some great information that we put out. So please support us and we will continue helping you.